Lock her up! Lock her up! Lock her up!
And I'm reading this and on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange, according to Carl Quintanilla, people were booing, shouting, "Lock her up."
The votes are 10 votes, Donald J. Trump.
And based upon the outrage of Congress, I happen to believe Hillary is going down.
You can just hear the beginning of the chanting there. It was lock her up, lock her up.
The New World Order and George Soros bought them off. George Soros controls all the newspapers.
No.
Hillary is going down. Secondly,
Secretary, did you hear the Republican convention chanting, "Lock her up"?
Well, I didn't hear it because I wasn't watching, but I certainly heard about it, yes.
Did you feel threatened by that?
No, I felt sad. I was saddened by it.
He calls you crooked Hillary.
This is a CBS News Special Report. I'm Jeff Glor in New York, and we're about to learn the next step in the Justice Department probe of Hillary Clinton's private email server. Attorney General Loretta Lynch says she will follow the recommendation of career prosecutors in this case and investigators on filing charges here.
Well, let's bring it back here at home here in Phoenix in a very interesting meeting on the tarmac at Sky Harbor International Airport. As ABC 15 has confirmed, former President Bill Clinton was in town and met up with U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch as she was arriving in Phoenix. Now, this meeting took place just hours before the release of the Benghazi report, so we asked her about it.
Our conversation was a great deal about his grandchildren. It was primarily social and about our travels.
Clinton finds out that Loretta Lynch is arriving at the airport. He intentionally waits for her, and according to Lynch, there was nothing discussed. But really, guys, you have to avoid the appearance of impropriety, especially when you are the Attorney General of the United States. You are the head of the DOJ, which is ultimately going to decide whether Hillary Clinton did something wrong vis-a-vis the email scandal.
Attorney General Loretta Lynch says she will follow the recommendation of career prosecutors in this case.
Our investigation looked at whether there is evidence that classified information was improperly stored or transmitted on that personal system in violation of a federal statute that makes it a felony to mishandle classified information, either intentionally or in a grossly negligent way. Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information. In violation of a federal statute that makes it a felony to mishandle classified information, either intentionally or in a grossly negligent way, that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information. As a result, although the Department of Justice makes final decisions on matters like this, we are expressing to Justice our view that no charges are appropriate in this case. Only facts matter. And the FBI found them here in an entirely apolitical and professional way.
Lawyer Lisa Page wrote, "God, Trump is loathsome human." And the agent Peter Strzok said Hillary should win 100 million to 0. A few months later, she texted, "Maybe you're meant to stay where you are because you're meant to protect the country from that menace."
Strzok calls Bernie Sanders an idiot like Trump.
I want to believe that the path you threw out for consideration in Andy's office, that there's no way he gets elected, meaning Trump, but I'm afraid we can't take that risk. It's like an insurance policy in the unlikely event you die before 40.
So look, you say we text on that phone when we talk about Hillary because it can't be traced. So Page appears to be acknowledging they know they're doing something that shouldn't be done, or at the very least, something that they don't want traced.
Sturzik was also a key player in the investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server.
Electronic records show that Peter Strzok changed former FBI Director James Comey earlier draft language from, quote, grossly negligent to extremely careless. Language had in fact been softened, that Comey and his colleagues had been playing with the language for some time. But the identity of the person who actually made the change had not been known until now.
That's key because gross negligence is the legal standard under the federal statute 18 U.S.C. 793F. And it's widely reported that Agent Strzok also oversaw the review of Clinton aide Huma Abedin's emails that were found on her estranged husband Anthony Weiner's computer.
Now, this was such a significant development. The special counsel's office actually issued a statement saying immediately upon learning of the allegations, it removed Peter Strzok from the investigation. President Trump tweeted over the weekend, now it all starts to make sense.
Well, Wolf, U.S. officials tell CNN that last year, the FBI used a dossier of allegations of Russian ties to Donald Trump's campaign as part of the justification to get approval to secretly monitor Trump associate Carter Page. This includes approval from the secret court that oversees the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, known as FISA, to monitor Page's communication.
Within that process and within the context of the Trump campaign, the Trump transition, did you seek the names of people involved in, to unmask the names of people involved in the Trump transition, the Trump campaign, people surrounding the president-elect?
Let me be clear.
In order to spy on them, in order to expose them?
Absolutely not for any political purposes, to spy, expose, anything.
That the link between Fusion GPS, the firm behind that anti-Trump dossier, and a top Justice Department official ran deeper than previously known. Fox News was the first to tell you last week about the abrupt demotion on Wednesday of Bruce Ohr, the Associate Deputy Attorney General, who was stripped of that title and his fourth-floor office at Maine Justice amid an ongoing investigation into his contacts with the two leading figures in the controversy over the dossier, meetings that DOJ officials told Fox News Ohr had withheld from his superiors. House Intelligence Committee staff uncovered that Ohr met last year with both Christopher Steele, the former British spy who authored the dossier with input from Russian sources, and that Ohr also met last year with Glenn Simpson, the founder of Fusion GPS, the opposition research firm that paid Mr. Steele with funding from the Hillary Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee. Now Fox News has confirmed that Nellie Ohr, an academic Russia expert and the wife of Bruce Ohr, worked for Fusion GPS last year. Indeed, was paid by the opposition research firm through the summer and fall of 2016, a timeline that places her on the company payroll around the time the dossier was funneled to the FBI.
I've got some bad news for Hillary Clinton. The Justice Department has just reportedly reopened the investigation into the former Secretary of State's use of a private email server.
We have some breaking news out of Washington. Federal authorities are now investigating claims of corruption tied to the Clinton Foundation. That is the charity of Bill and Hillary Clinton.
CNN has learned that federal authorities down in Arkansas are now actively investigating the Clinton Family Foundation for public corruption, alleged public corruption.
This program has created more and more opportunities.
CBS News has learned in recent weeks FBI agents have been re-examining the Clinton Foundation's finances. Agents want to know if donations were made in exchange for political favors between 2009 and 2013, when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State.
Was 2:51 this afternoon when the call came in. Fire reported in a converted red barn behind the Dutch Colonial that the Clintons purchased in 1999. That converted red barn is a facility used by the United States Secret Service. Fire companies from Chappaqua, Millwood came to the scene. They were able to extinguish the fire, and it was reported out at 3:17 this afternoon. No word as to the extent of any damage in that red barn.
on the Clintons' estate. We're told there were no injuries. Normally we would have gotten some kind of update from a fire chief, but they all left without talking to the media. Kind of update from a fire chief, but they all left without talking to the media. A short time ago, a spokesman for Mrs. Clinton shared some details in a tweet. Nick Merrill, her spokesman, called this a small fire and reiterated that both the 44th president and the 67th Secretary of State were not home and they are fine tonight.
Now, in the last few months, I have followed, but never really spoken of, QAnon or Q Anonymous. And a lot of what QAnon has said, I already had gotten separately from my White House sources, my Pentagon sources, my CIA sources. And folks know we have amazing sources. It's been a big issue in the media trying to keep the president from getting our information and the president giving us information. One of those sources is public. His name's Zach, and we know who he is. And a lot of other information. He's been brought in by the FBI, visited once, brought in by the FBI, the second time brought into the Army. He's not giving us anything classified here. As a citizen, he's pointing out things that are hiding in plain view that people not trained for it won't see. And so we've been wanting to get him on. He hasn't been ready to. Obviously, his lawyers, I guess, have given him the green light. So we're going to break down some very, very important things here.
You're a public official at the highest levels of power. If you're a congressman, a senator, if you happen to be a secretary of state, if you happen to be whatever you are, make no mistake, you use those same devices. So if you think you could bleach them, if you think you could have a house fire and play victim and get rid of them, you are highly mistaken, because the Silicon Valley sultans put the spectrum bug out there. It's classified. Nobody's going to know who dropped it, but the information's out there. And now we have the information. Now we have the PDFs, which will be released. Assange will be released. Bannon made a big, big, big mistake. Here's the problem with Bannon. Bannon tried to align with Miles Kwok. Miles Kwok, people probably don't know who he is, but the Chinese billionaire who should be in China. He is the rook. He is the main piece when it comes to this North Korea strike. This Zuma payload that's going to be fulfilled by SpaceX, which launches, which we're going to get into orbit, is going to do something for DoD that I can't get into, that will make the North Korea attack plausible and not as catastrophic as people are worried about. Also, it's going to give us the green light with China. We're going to give them Miles Kwok, and we are going to get the green light to take out North Korea, as me and you talked about many months ago. We made the HRC Huma Obama connection there. Make no mistake, Huma's going to be indicted. Huma's going to be prosecuted. They got 19 new prosecutors looking into all the sealed indictments, and Huma's done. But what about this fire in their bedroom? Like basically a firebombing in. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Well, so that's double barbed, and people will know what that means. They're not untouchable, and a lot of people aren't happy with them. So something happening there. Of course, I know nothing about that. They had internal security that was like very tight there, but they were attacked. They were attacked, and they were just letting them know on Seth Rich's birthday, that make no mistake, we're coming at you, and you're coming at you hard.
Approximately 7 o'clock this morning, the Secret Service that were monitoring the building noticed the smoke coming from the roof. and they called the fire safety director in the lobby, and by checking the cameras throughout the building, he did say we had flames coming out of a vent on the top of the building. We had one minor injury to a firefighter. Some debris fell on him. He's being trained. It's a minor injury. And we had one engineer that got up there with a fire extinguisher and breathed in some of the smoke, but he's refused medical. He's not being transported.
The weekend launch of a top-secret U.S. satellite by SpaceX ended in failure. Details on this from National Security Correspondent David Martin at the Pentagon.
Mission liftoff.
The launch was a success.
We have had successful liftoff of Falcon 9 carrying Zuma.
But the top-secret spy satellite it was carrying died. A U.S. official told CBS News the satellite, codenamed Zuma, failed to achieve its intended orbit and crashed into the Indian Ocean.
Stage 1 landing burn is
The rocket's first stage returned to Earth so it could be used again. The second stage carried the satellite toward what was supposed to be a low Earth orbit, from which it could carry out its intelligence mission. SpaceX released a statement saying, after review of all data to date, Falcon 9 did everything correctly on Sunday night. But Northrop Grumman, which made the Zuma satellite, remained silent, saying it could not comment on a classified mission.
Until recently, North Koreans refused to even pick up the phone when South Koreans called the border hotline. So it was significant to see Ri Son-kwon, who's in charge of inter-Korean relations for the North Korean government, stepping over the border into the south. He led a 5-member team of high-ranking diplomats into a meeting with his South Korean counterpart in what's known as the Truce Village at Panmunjom.
Our talks resume after North and South Korean ties have been severed for a long time, but I believe the first step is half the journey.
We came to this meeting with a serious and sincere attitude, and with the thought of giving our brethren who have high hopes for this dialogue invaluable results as the first gift of the year.
Trump is treason! Why are you talking about tax cuts when you should be talking about treason? Why is Congress talking about tax cuts when they should be talking about treason? This president conspired with the agents of the Russian government to steal an election. We should be talking about treason in Congress, not about tax cuts. Ryan Clayton from American State Action. Ryan Clayton from American State Action. Lock him up! Lock him up!
That's Michael Flynn. He just stepped out of the... And there you see Michael Flynn just came in without saying any words.
Lock her up. That's right. That's right. Lock her up. You know why we're saying that? We're saying that because if I, a guy who knows this business, if I did a tenth of what she did, I would be in jail today.
Foreign Minister has come out and called the situation of Assange living in the embassy here in London unsustainable. And for the first time, she raised the possibility of, as you say, getting in outside help, mediation as a way out. Here she is.
A person can't live in those conditions forever. We're considering the option of mediation. That could be done via a third country or individual. No solution is possible without international cooperation or without that of the UK, which has expressed interest in finding one.
Back in 2010, Hillary Clinton proposed killing Julian Assange to prevent WikiLeaks from releasing government info. Can't we just drone this guy? Clinton openly inquired. Clinton said Assange, after all, was a relatively soft target, walking around freely and thumbing his nose without any fear of reprisals from the United States.
Did you ever joke about droning Assange?
Well, I don't know anything about what he's talking about, and I don't recall any joke. It would have been a joke if it had been said, but I don't recall that.
Where's Jennifer? Where's Jennifer? Did Jennifer leave? Where's Jennifer? Where's Jennifer? Did Jennifer leave? Where's Jennifer? Did Jennifer leave?
Can we get someone to ask his belief? Does he believe in a God? He had skated on saying he has a Jewish heritage. I think I read he's an atheist. This could make several points difference with my peeps, end quote. Did you know anything about any of that?
No, and I didn't know anything about it, and I haven't read any of those, but I am adamantly opposed to anyone bringing religion into our political process. I mean, the Constitution says no religious tests, so that is just absolutely wrong and unacceptable.
But maybe the point, Madam Secretary, is you have people in the Democratic National Committee who are supposed to be, if you will, agnostic about who the nominee is going to be. And they seem to have their thumb on the scale for you. They seem to be working against Bernie Sanders, their fellow Democrat.
Again, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about these emails.
First of all, I never used the word rigged in my book. I said that I used the word cancer, and that I was uncomfortable with the cancer that I found when I became chair. Look, I was an officer. I didn't know how deeply in debt our party was, okay? And when I learned that Hillary was bailing us out, I want to call her Secretary Hillary Clinton, but I also know as Hillary because I have great affection and respect for her. When I learned that Hillary was bailing our party out, giving us $3.5 million a month to keep us floating, I appreciated that. But what I wanted control over, Whoopi, was that if I raised $1.50, I wanted to spend my money without asking permission.
You were there, and you booed when he started to say that you should vote for Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. Why?
I did, Casey. Well, thanks for interviewing me. Yeah, you know, we are for Bernie. We think Bernie is still the candidate to win. We don't want Trump any more than anyone else here wants Trump. So if we support Hillary, we believe Trump will win.
Okay. There you have it, Steve. It's remarkable. I did not hear chants of lock her up, although there have been reports of that. Did you chant lock her up at that event today?
Well, earlier in the breakfast meeting, we did chant that a little bit.
I would take it a lot more seriously. They're not booing me, Jeffrey. As much as you wish they were booing me, they're not booing me. They're booing your candidate. So here's the deal. I think that the fact that this comes from O'Keefe is a
It's time to shut it down, turn the tables, and lock her up.
Hillary for president! Hillary for president! Hillary for president!
Did you chant lock her up at that event today?
Well, earlier in the breakfast meeting, we did chant that a little bit.
And based upon the outrage of Congress, I happen to believe Hillary is going down. Secondly,